Once upon a time, there was a queen who wished for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Her wish was granted, and she gave birth to a beautiful daughter whom she named Snow White. Sadly, the queen fell ill and passed away, leaving the king devastated. Eventually, he remarried a vain and wicked woman who became Snow White's stepmother. This new queen possessed a magic mirror and would often ask it who was the fairest in the land. The mirror would always reply that Snow White was the fairest. Enraged by the mirror's response, the evil queen plotted to get rid of Snow White. She assigned a huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. However, the huntsman couldn't bring himself to harm the young princess and let her escape, warning her to never return. Lost in the forest, Snow White stumbled upon a small cottage owned by 7 dwarfs. They took her in and cared for her. Meanwhile, the queen, still desperate to be the fairest, used her dark magic to transform into an old hag. Disguised, she visited Snow White multiple times, attempting to harm her. First, the queen laced Snow White's corset too tight, causing her to faint. The dwarfs managed to revive her. Then, the queen used a poisoned comb, which caused Snow White to fall into a deep sleep until the dwarfs removed it. Finally, the queen gave Snow White a poisoned apple. The princess took a bite, and this time, she fell into an unbreakable sleep. The dwarfs, grief-stricken, placed Snow White in a glass coffin. Eventually, a prince came across her and was captivated by her beauty. He begged the dwarfs to allow him to take Snow White to his castle. While transporting her, the prince's servants tripped, dislodging the piece of poisoned apple from Snow White's throat, awakening her from her slumber. Snow White and the prince fell in love, and they were married in a grand ceremony. The wicked queen, still unaware of Snow White's revival, attended the wedding. However, when she discovered that Snow White was alive and the fairest of them all, her jealousy consumed her. In the end, the queen met her demise as punishment for her wickedness. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after, ruling over the kingdom with kindness and love. Please note that there may be variations in different versions of the Snow White story.